All right. So, start off. Name, location, and your debut year.
All night highlight, Pornstache Peter Schwanz. I reside in the Love Shack. And debut was 2010.
All right. Where all do you actively wrestle?
Right now it is at ACW in Oshkosh and for Frozen Tundra in, Rubicon, Fond du Lac, southern end of the area.
Who would you say trained you the most? Where did you get your training from? Any schools, any personal one-on-one, such as that?
Well, it's a mixed bag for me because I had some experience before that. Yeah, I'm not going to hide. Some of us did do the yarding way back in the day, and so I had Dinty initially. Uh, Matt Winchester was one of my biggest influences training. I would say he was the one that trained me the most, but Shane Hills also had a hand in it too. Both of them running camps at NWA Wisconsin and now WPW shows. They really had the biggest influences on me. Swaggle also had a hand in it as well. TW3, I mean, we came up together. We've been wrestling together for years and years, and he's shared a lot of wisdom with me too. So I would say those guys had the biggest hands in my training.
So you would say that the people who you started out with, let's just say in the yard, I don't think there's any shame in that.
There is no shame in that. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody should have shame in it because it's where you started. It's where our grassroots are. I mean, you see everything behind us. The ring was a mile away in a garage. I mean, that's how we came up.
To
I'm
me,
not gonna hide it.
to me, all that shows is dedication and just doing it however you can because of your love for it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, a friend of mine started wrestling at 14 years old in a pavilion at Pierce Park just because we saw stuff on TV. And it escalated into being able to perform for thousands of people at WrestleCon, for example, for ACW. I mean, I don't have words for that. It's beautiful and I love it.
What made you want to start your adventure in pro wrestling? What inspired you to stop watching it and want to participate?
Well, when I was a kid, my father was a huge wrestling fan. I remember sitting on the couch, watching The Undertaker's debut, watching so many matches with Ultimate Warrior, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and he was always so into it. And when he passed away when I was a child, I always had wrestling in me. I remember having this WWF hat with the big boss man on it, and I would never let that thing out of my sight for years. And I was 12 years old wearing a 6-year-old's hat. And when my friend Barnaby, me and him, we played Pokemon together and we watched wrestling together. And one day we decided, hey, let's legitimately try this. We went to the Pierce Park Pavilion. We would watch Raw the night before. We'd come and try to do the moves and try to do an arm wringer. And we ended up getting hurt a lot of the time because, I mean, we're falling on a pavilion. But that escalated into building our own ring. That escalated into wanting to perform for our family and friends. That escalated into finding out that wrestling promotions existed, like NWA Wisconsin at the time. Well, actually, it would have been ACW. That was before the name change. Realizing that there were camps, realizing that there were people training for this. So knowing that existed, it was just the progress that it seemed inevitable to just keep going along that path. And I'm just really glad that I took bumps on the hard ground to be able to perform for 2,000 people. It's a feeling that you can't get anywhere else.
I always say some of us could definitely feel it. Like, you could feel the energy
Absolutely.
from a crowd. Like,
Absolutely.
you could just feel the vibes.
I get goosebumps when I hear certain songs that have to do with wrestling. When I watch videos, I get goosebumps. I mean, you can place yourself in your mind in that moment and you can relive that energy just by watching it. it's beautiful, man. There's nothing like it on this planet.
Can you tell us about your debut match?
I can tell you about that. So it was UPW. It was a 4-way match. It was myself, Nathan Gust, Jonathan Smash, and I believe it was Tyler Idle at the time. He was shoeless Tyler Jackson at the end of his wrestling career, but it was a 4-way match, and we were so excited because it was 4 friends that were not. We couldn't wait to beat the crap out of each other. We could not wait to show the world of wrestling that we wanted to be there. And I remember the one spot, and it really hurt because I was at the top of a tower, a superplex tower, and the 4 of us went down, and I took that bump, knocked the wind out of me, and I could barely get up. But across the ring, I saw my best friend Nathan Gust, and it gave me that energy to want to punch him in the face. And it was a beautiful match. We got to the back, and we looked at the promoter. It was Pete, and he's like, "Good job, guys." And that's what we were hoping for, and we accomplished our goal that night. And we, like myself and Nathan, we have had countless battles in Iowa and Minnesota and Wisconsin. I would love nothing more than to beat the crap out of my best friend.
You kind of told us about it a little bit during your description there.
Sure.
But if you can elaborate on what your feelings were after the match, of how you were feeling now that you finished your debut match? Excitement, fear that you messed up or anything, happiness.
I felt happiness at first. It was the exhilaration of being able to perform in front of a crowd. I wasn't too worried, I guess, at the time of how much I may have messed up, because I was still really new to the game. Like, just because I yarded didn't mean I knew everything, and didn't mean that just because the crowd cheered me doesn't mean anything at that time, because I needed to learn exactly what I needed to know in order to perform at the highest potential. So I wasn't worried about it at the time. We did get coached afterwards. I wish I could remember more of the details of what specifically we were coached on, but at the end of the day, I was just happy. I was happy I got to live out my dream. Every single match, I'm not a religious person by any means, but I do speak to my Father before every match, and I thank Him for giving me the ability to do what I do. I thank Him for allowing me to view wrestling in His company. I wouldn't be in wrestling if it wasn't for Him. And I wouldn't have the support from my family, I don't think, that if I went into wrestling, that if it wasn't because of my father. So, I was just happy that I was able to fulfill a dream of mine.
Have you had any self-doubts or anything along the way so far?
I have. You're always your worst critic, and when I first broke into the business, I had a tag team partner, ripped.
Hold up. Sorry.
Big gust of wind on the
Big gust of wind.
No, that's all right.
We're going to take that one from the start because the keys were pretty crappy too. Yeah.
So I guess from the top.
Yeah. So I'm my worst critic, and I'm always going to be the hardest on myself. And I think one of the biggest times I doubted myself was very early on, where I had a tag partner, Ripped Robbie. I miss him so much. We made magic in the ring. We were 2 dudes, 1 stash, and I love the tag team name. I really wish we could have done more than 2 years together, but when he left and he did his own thing, which is great, I'm really happy for him. He's got a wonderful wife, so congrats to him. But I found myself in this awkward place, almost like a Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels situation, where I didn't know where I stood in my career. I didn't know how good I was. I didn't know if I was bad. I didn't know my place in the business at that time. I was a tag team wrestler, and I didn't have a lot of singles matches. I wasn't very versed in that aspect of the business yet. So I really doubted myself that I would be able to hold my own against guys Rip Robbie's size, for example. He was, what, 260, 280, something like that. Hopefully I don't offend you, buddy. But how can I hold my own against guys like this? And I remember that when I worked for UPW, there was a lot of hardcore matches, and that was a match I had never been in at that point. So I said to myself, this is what I need to do to see where my place is. I need to do something big. I need to do something different. I need to prove to myself that I'm worth something in this business and that I have a place. So I did a thumbtacks match with Peter B. I took my first thumbtack bump, which hurt really, really bad. I had 2 thumbtacks go right through my elbow, and I had never experienced that before. So, yeah, that was not fun. I took a thumbtack bat to the head. So that was the first time for that. I still have the bat as a memento. But after that match, I had a lot of fun. I think me and Pete and I can both agree that it maybe wasn't the best of matches, but I had a lot of fun with it, and it really, it showed me that I can do something, even if it is something extreme like that. Now, I'm not a hardcore guy. I've done a few hardcore matches, but it really showed me that, look, I can do this. And then the next piece of it was, now I need to find who I am. I need to find out what am I on the inside. And I found out that through my love of Jersey Shore, I am a fist-pumping, leg-humping son of a gun. And I wanted to entertain the fans. I want to dance for them. I want to please the ladies that are in the crowd and make the men jealous of me. That's what I wanted to be. And so I reinvented myself, and then became more self-doubt, because now is this new look where I get rid of shorts and I have bikers. I make my mustache more of a focal point. I spit in your face. I get your wife's phone number. I have a fur vest on. I have these huge, ridiculous sunglasses. Like, is this going to work? And I really, really hope that after the last 10 years and the longer that I continue to do this, that people remember me for the glasses and the mustache, because then that means that I did my job. I left a lasting image on professional wrestling in Wisconsin. I did my part to make it better, and at the end of the day, now, that relieves any of my doubt of myself. That relieves any questions of that. What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? How do I do this? As long as you do things the right way, I think Adam Pearce says that a lot. As long as you do things the right way and you show the business respect, that's not a direct quote, but that's the general idea. You're gonna leave your footprint here in professional wrestling, and that's all my self-doubt is out the window at that point. So I really hope that I've been able to do that, and I'm gonna continue to prove everybody wrong that does think still that I don't have what it takes to be a champion at ACW, to not be a champion. I am actually the champion. That reminds me, I'm the champion at Frozen Tundra. That should show that I have what it takes, and I want to prove to everybody that after the last 10 years, it'll be 10 years in February, I still have what it takes to put on a good show and to leave the fans happy at the end of the night.
Have you ever gotten in trouble for your name and your outgoing personality at shows that may have been deemed family friendly or anything of such?
Yes, I have. Sometimes my mouth is a little bit quicker than my head. I'll admit that. I've sworn at shows where I've lost buildings.
Hold up.
Damn it. The whole last segment was just perfect.
I went on and on at the end, so you can feel free to edit that out.
Oh, it's okay. You answered like. All right. So again, has your identity as Pornstache Peter Schwanz, has that just the overall style of that, the fist pumping, the innuendos and stuff like that, has that ever gotten you in trouble at like family friendly shows or anything of the such?
Yes, it has. Sometimes my tongue is a little bit quicker than my brain, so I swear a lot. I am trying very hard to not do it during this interview, but I've said some things to lose shows. I've crossed the line a couple of times to where promoters haven't been too happy with me. Early on, it was tough to use my name in radio ads. A lot of promoters were hesitant on saying Pornstache. But as soon as I saw it in the paper, that was, you can do it there. So we got an outlet that way. So that's where I came up with the all-night highlight. I wanted to, even though I wanted to still have my personality and be able to get my innuendos in where I could, that's what she said, I still wanted promoters to be able to know that they could use me on family-friendly shows. I can tone it down a little bit, and to be diversified in my portfolio, so to say. So that's where the all-night highlight came in. But yeah, I've said the F-bomb a couple times. Definitely lost a promotion way back when, SWE. I did that twice, unfortunately. That was my fault. I think standing on a table at the Now shows at Cheers of Chilton, they didn't like that too much. I yelled at for that. I noticed, actually, to my, and this wasn't a promoter's fault or anything, but early on I would dance on a lot of women. And I would be very, very stripper-esque, if you will. And although I didn't necessarily mind most of the time if they would touch me, there would be times where I would be inappropriately touched to where, that they're literally grabbing me.
They forget that it's part of the show, essentially.
Exactly. So over the years, I was really aggressive, and I'd say within the last 4 or 5 years, I've toned it down a little bit, trying to be more eye-appealing from far away rather than close by. I mean, I still give the fans what they want. I still shake my booty in their face, but I'm not maybe grinding on them as much as I used to.
I have to say, just being in the ring with you, I've noticed that. But I definitely think of it as a natural progression, and I like that you've done that, just because it's showing that you don't need to do that. It shows that you know the psychology, you know how to work without doing that.
Psychology is really, really my biggest thing. I studied psychology on my own for a former job that I used to work for, where I was a sales manager, and it was really important to me to understand people, understand different personalities. And once I studied more on the non-wrestling psychology, it allowed me to understand wrestling psychology better and to utilize it, both ways of psychology, to connect with someone. I remember for a little while, Swoggle gave me the idea of giving a mustache to children. And I had done it for a little while. It didn't get the traction I was looking for, so I didn't stay with it, and maybe that was me pulling the plug too early. But he told me, he's like, think about this for a second. You are going up to a child, and you are giving them something that is you, your mustache. Even though it's not your mustache, it is something, a figure of their imagination, and they can put it on their face. Now they can feel it, and they can feel you. They can feel your energy. And I'm like, dude, you're right. And having that connection and understanding it and twisting it in your favor really helps you stand out amongst the pack.
Have you had any injuries or severe concussions or anything like that throughout your years?
I have. As far as concussions, I couldn't really tell you if I've had a full-blown one. I'm not a self-detriment to myself. I'm not a big fan of doctors, so I don't go to the doctor very often. I have had my bell rung several times, I would say 6 or 7, just, getting the stars, but I always felt fine afterwards, never had any of the lasting effects, so I'm hoping they weren't serious. As far as other injuries, I broke my ankle. Um, I was taking a Blue Thunder bomb, and I didn't, for whatever reason, when I landed, I didn't land the right way, and I had my leg under me, so I didn't really land on my back very well. It was very, very early on in my career, and it landed on my ankle, and I broke it on one side and sprained it on the other side. So I was in a boot for 6 to 8 weeks. I was on crutches. The really sucky thing for that is I had stairs to get to my job at the time, so that was very challenging to try to get up the stairs at the place. But outside of that, I have my elbows have broken cartilage off of them, so I'm able to move around my elbows a little bit. My left wrist is consistently hurting, probably from all the frog splashes. But other than that, I've actually been really lucky. I mean, let's face it, guys like Joey Avalon, they've had surgery on their necks. They broke their frickin' neck. I'm really lucky. I hope this is wood. I hope this is wood. I'm really, really lucky that I haven't experienced anything like that, and I try to keep myself as safe as possible and keep myself from getting those injuries, but it is at the end of the day a part of the business. And I mean, I think for the most part we're all safe. We all want to beat the crap out of each other, but we also want to go to work the next day because we have to provide for families. So keep Wisconsin safe. I don't have anything else to say. Oh shit.
So 2 more questions.
All right.
Or 3 more, I'm sorry. Biggest influences locally and professionally?
Oh, I have a long list, so I'm really going to have to narrow this down. I would say I'm gonna keep it to a couple because I have a really long list because there's a lot of good guys in Wisconsin. There's a lot of good guys that are gonna be willing to sit down and watch your match, even if they're a 15-year veteran or if they're a 2-year green kid. They're going to want to watch your match. They're going to want to learn. They're going to want to teach if they're in a position to teach. So it's really hard to narrow it down to a couple of guys. But first one is TW3. Thomas Walton, Blood Money, whatever you want to call him. I've known him since I was 14. I'm 32. We've known each other 18 years. We have traveled to North Dakota. We've traveled across the Midwest. We've done WWE backstage stuff. He's done a lot more than I have, but the one time we went, we were with each other. Actually, no, I don't. Edit that part out. I don't remember if he was there. I take that back. But going up and down these roads, you get into personal conversations, you get into wrestling conversations, and he has been the one to always keep it real with me, always telling me, look, you need to do it this way, or you need to do it that way. He went on to train on the indies before I did. I stayed in the yard. And being able to go into the independent circuit a couple years after him and to have him show me the way of dressing nice when you go on to big shows. Dress for the job you want. Let them know that you want to be on their show. Helping out afterwards. He was still doing it. He was the one showing me, this is what you need to do. This is how the ring gets taken down. This is who you talk to. This is who you don't talk to. Because there are those people, let's face it, there are those people. So he had, I think, the biggest influence on me early on and even afterwards as a personal friend. The other one is Sadist. That man is the scariest person and the nicest person all rolled up into one person. He helped me a lot mid-career and after. I'm not saying he didn't have an influence early on, but we really didn't have a connection. We really didn't work with each other a lot. It wasn't until I broke in big time into Bruce City where I really got to know Sadist. And when we started then, I started training at WPW with Dinty and Shane, where we really got to know each other. But he always talked about life after wrestling. I remember sitting down with him. We worked a program with each other, and it was at ACW. And the first thing he said to me is, "Look, I know we're pretty good friends, but I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, and that's the way it's gonna go." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. Let's do it." But after that, he told me the one thing that will always, always stick with me about wrestling is wrestling is here for you now. Wrestling is always going to happen after you leave. You need to make sure that you have a life outside of wrestling in order to successfully transition out of it. You need to make sure that you're focusing on your goals, whether it's education, your career, if you have kids, if you have a wife. You need to make sure that you have those things in order, because when you can't do it anymore, what are you going to have from wrestling outside of memories, right? You're going to have the videotapes, you're going to have the posters, you're going to have the friends, you're going to have all that, but you're not going to be able to physically do it. So what's going to occupy your time? And you're going to get inside your head, and you're going to continuously think, and you're going to try to do things maybe that you're not able to do anymore. So he said, make sure you focus on those things, and make sure that you still focus on wrestling too, because you want to be the best that you can be now, but you also want to be the best that you can be after. And that really hit home for me, because I was in a career at the time. I was working as a salesman, or as a senior sales associate at the time when we had this conversation. And I was trying to move up into management as a sales manager. And he indirectly gave me motivation to become the type of person and the type of worker that I am now. And by worker, I don't mean wrestler. I mean at my career at Fox Valley Cab, at where I've worked in the past, being able to take pride in what I'm doing outside of the business in order to fulfill my heart and my goals and my dreams and ultimately be happy. And I've been able to make peace with the negative that does come along in wrestling and be able to just have fun no matter what, and at the end of the day be satisfied with wrestling and my life and essentially live happily ever after. The other person, 2 people, I lied, I'm going to put 4, Swaggle, because wrestling for ACW is amazing, and he is giving back to the business that gave him so much. And for him to share his wisdom, not only in being in WWE, but then also dealing with other issues that come up in life, and having his wisdom to guide me in my career later on, and just having him as a friend. Like, we yarded too. I hope he doesn't get mad I said that, but we yarded too. And to have him have the respect for everyone in the business that he still has after going to such high levels is awesome. And having him in my corner and texting me like, hey, you should try this, or hey, I got this idea for you. Like, that means a lot. I don't care if we're friends or not. That means a lot because of who you are. The last person, Matt Winchester, Dinty Moore, Beer City Bruiser, whatever you want to call him. Having him guide me in this business, showing me how to respect the business and treat everybody with respect, and to beat the tar out of people, and to be a fighter in this business, and don't let anybody push you around. and to be the best that you can be. He pushed me to so many limits that I never thought I had. I remember specifically when I was learning how to take a flip bump, I was terrible at taking a flip bump because I was scared. I was legitimately scared. I'm still scared of going backwards. 10 years in the business, I'm scared of going backwards. But he faced me face to face as a man. You have to face your fears. You need to look. You need to get this out of your head, and you just need to do it. And he used an analogy of looking up at the sun. As a Native American, you look up at the sun to tell you what time it is. And he knew that. And he's like, look up at the sun, pretend there's a light up there, something. And the rest is history. And having a different perspective, having that fighter mentality, I mean, he was trained by Harley Race. To have that knowledge in my head, I mean, I wouldn't be the person, I wouldn't be the wrestler, I wouldn't be Pornstache Peter Schwanz, I wouldn't be Platinum Deuce as I was once known, I wouldn't be Platinum Rapper as I was once known, I wouldn't be any of those things without those main four people. I could keep naming names. I could name Mark Preby. I could name Joey Avalon. I could name countless other people. Shane Hills, Jay Cash. The list goes on. The great thing about Wisconsin that I don't think anybody realizes is we all love wrestling and we all love each other. And we all want the best for each other. And I think if we just realized that and supported each other and watched each other's matches and genuinely took criticism to heart and improved ourselves, the state would be in a much better place.